few technical terms are there, which you must be very familiar. Like this is going to haunt you for next coming years also. And some short questions also, they are based on these technical terms. Okay. So what I was discussing here about is the aperture thing. Okay. So aperture, you say, or whatever you pronounce, the pronunciation may change from different places. I call it as a aperture. And so here in the aperture, what is there is it is your opening. Okay, opening in a lens. So what is that opening in the lens doing? Okay, so it is going to restrict, or it is going to stop the excess amount of light. Okay, suppose this is your lens, and the light is coming all around. Okay, so light is coming from left hand, right hand, up and down. Okay, and there is so much of light, and if we want to avoid the excess light, which we doesn't want, so what we are going to do is we are going to change the f number. Okay, so f number, it is uh, in the camera itself. So you can change the f number according to your convenience. If you want the more light should come into your camera, you increase your f number. If you want to limit the amount of your light that is coming into the camera, simply reduce the f number. Okay, so an aperture is always, the unit is your f number. Okay, so different f numbers examples you can see on your screen. That is your f1/4, f/2, f/2.8 is there. So basically, what aperture is, it is going to restrict or limit the amount of your light that is entering into the camera. Okay, that is there. Then you have shutter speed. Okay, so shutter speed or exposure time is the length of time when the film or digital sensor inside the camera is exposed to light. Okay, so this line is very important. The amount of light that reaches the film or image sensor is proportional to the exposure time. Okay, so this means that the shutter speed, okay, it is directly proportional to the amount of light that it is reaching onto the film, or it is reaching to the image sensor, where the screen is, where the image is, or where the object is getting recorded. That amount of light what is falling onto that sensor or on the film, that is being monitored or regulated by the shutter speed. So if the shutter speed is less or more, the amount of light also will fall onto the sensor in that manner only. Okay, so the amount of light that reaches the film or image sensor is proportional to exposure time. That means anything that is being exposed, what is being exposed. So if the image sensor is being exposed for longer duration, that means obviously the shutter speed will be more. Okay, so it can be like the shutter speed, that is it will quickly open, or it is quickly open and shut. So in that manner, just assume like a light is coming, there is one curtain. In that curtain, if it is fully closed, the light cannot enter inside. If the slightly curtain is open, the light is going to get inside that thing. And the speed, how fast the curtain is closing or opening, if it is going to open for a longer duration, the more amount of light it is going to pass. Suppose the curtain is going to open shortly and then again it is going to close. So what will happen? The amount of light is very small portion that is going to enter is very small in amount. Okay, so slow curtain opening, the more amount of light is entering. The curtain quickly opening and shutting. In that case, what will happen is the amount of light is very limited only. Okay, so very limited amount of light is falling onto the film or onto the what is image processor in case of your DSLR. Okay. Then there is one more technical term, that is your ISO. Different ISO numbers are there for the cameras, for the films. So you might have come across like ISO 100, 400, 1600, 1400. So what does that ISO indicates? Okay, so that ISO indicates that how sensitive the film is. Okay, and one more thing is, like with this concept of how sensitive the image is, we can also assume that thing in one more manner, like the ISO number is if it is more. So suppose if we take the example of two ISO numbers, one is your ISO 100 and one is your ISO 400. Okay, so if you have to shoot, if you have to take the picture through your ISO 100 and ISO 400, okay, so both the ISO will have different quality of image. Okay, so how that image quality is going to affect? So it is like when you are shooting into a bright light. Okay, so when the amount of light is more, so in that case, what will happen is the ISO number that you have to take is less. Okay. And when there is a inside house or when there is a light is less, so in that case, what you can do is the ISO number you choose is more. Okay. So suppose if there is an indoor crime scene or when there is a light is very less. So obviously for our camera, we are going to increase the ISO number. Okay. So ISO will help you to identify or to give an idea where you are going to use the camera in what condition. Okay. So for if the crime scene is having less amount of light, in that case, you can just increase the ISO number and take the photographs. Then the next term is about your exposures that determines how light or dark an image will appear. This is determined by the three settings, that is your aperture, ISO and your shutter speed. Okay, so there is a proper coordination should be made for a proper photograph or for the crystal clear photograph. For the photograph to have a picture clear, so there are different settings which you should coordinate and make all the setting in such a way that you get the best photograph. So for getting your best photograph, there is a formula that, not actually a formula, but a standard mechanism that you call it as your exposure triangle. So if we follow that exposure triangle, we can get the best image for our camera. So that will take in the next slide. So here, if we focus, there is one more technical term, that is your focal length. So you might have studied that thing into your schools also. So the definition for your focal length, according to the photography now here, if you see, the focal length of the lens is the distance between the lens and the image sensor. Okay. So the distance that is from your lens, where the body of the lens, if you see, it is very big, but actual lens inside is in one place. So from that place to the distance for your image sensor or the photographic film, that will decide what the focal length of the camera is. Okay, so the focal length of the lens is the distance between the lens and the image sensor when the subject is in focus. Usually it is reflected or displayed in millimeters. So in the lens itself, you can see like whether it is 50 mm, 100 mm or 28 mm, such kind of thing. So if you see the next slide here, this is what you are talking about is your triangle. Okay, so through this triangle, if you see there is three different types of uh, characters, which is easily displaying you like how you can follow this triangle and take the best photographs that you can have. So first, if you see about the aperture side, here you can see different apertures are there, f number is there. Okay, so what it is doing is, as the f number is increasing, okay, so the aperture is slowly it is closing. So the more number of aperture you are having, the more pointed focus you are having, the more pointed space you are giving in the lens for your light to enter. Okay. So if you want a brighter photos, you will have to reduce your f number. Okay. If you increase your f number, so obviously the photos that you will get will not be brighter, but it will have some like it will be lighter in color. So for brighter photography, the what ISO says is uh, if you are inside the lighting condition where the light is less, obviously you can increase your this ISO number. If you reduce your ISO number inside the house or where the light is less, in that case the photo will not be bright. Okay. About your shutter speed, this is actually the shutter speed is helpful for your fast moving object. Any object like if you're having some outdoor activity, some car is moving and you want to record that thing, somebody is running, you want to photograph that thing, you will have to increase your shutter speed. So if you increase that shutter speed, obviously whatever is present outside your camera, whatever you are focusing, the object will get more time to come inside the film, inside the camera on the image processing, and it will be more clearly visible as a result. Okay, so this triangle we can follow for your photography. So I think for today, let us stop here, and in the next lecture, we'll talk about the cardinal rules or the important rules for your photography, and later on, slowly moving to the technical portion. Okay. So for today, just revise like what are the different parts of the camera, what is their function, and how to take the best photograph from your this triangle. Okay.
Okay.
There is, okay, so just wait for some time. Only two more slides are there. Just we'll discuss about the difference between SLR and DSLR also. Okay. After that, we can finish.
Okay. Okay.
So through the photograph, as you can see, like if you compare the normal SLR on the left hand side, this is the analog also. Two terms it is used at the same time. SLR you call it, or you call it as analog cameras. So SLR cameras, they use a film. DSLR here we are using a digital platform, like digital storage devices there. So if we follow this different types of characters, the differences between your SLR and DSLR. So according to the technology feature, so what it is saying is the reflex mirror that allows the live and digital optical viewing through the lens taking place inside the image. So one more important thing is like in the cameras, in the mirror cameras, I told you one mirrorless camera is there and one mirror camera is there. So in the mirror cameras, what will happen is when you take a photo, when you click a picture, when you release the shutter, so what will happen is the light that is falling on the mirror, So once you release that button for recording the photograph, once you are clicking it, what will happen is for a very short period of time, the mirror is going to flip or move upwards. So ultimately, as a result, what will happen is the light that was coming onto the mirror and falling on the mirror and getting it reflected, ultimately in the path of the light, the mirror is moved. So ultimately, the light is going to directly go onto the image processor. Okay. So whether it is a digital SLR or it is your normal SLR, when you click it, a small flip or click kind of sound is there. That is just because of your mirror thing. So mirror is moving. So as a result of that, you are getting your this flip sound. So the requirement is your in SLR is your memory cards are there. In SLR you have your films. Advantages for DSLR, you have thousands of images are there. You can record it, make videos. At the same time, you can delete also, take more photographs. The best photographs you can store. So the disadvantage of your SLR is if you click it, even if you get your even if the photograph is not good, still it will be stored in your camera. You'll have to process it. And shutter speed also in your normal DSLR it is less. In shutter speed is more in your digital SLR. So obviously there are some advantages also. And if you want to talk about the reusability, so in your SLR the films that are exposed, if you take out the film, so again you cannot use it. Okay. Whereas in your DSLR, if you have a memory card, store your device, store your photographs or videos, transfer it to your another device, make the storage card empty, again you can reuse it. Okay. Then the advantage of this DSLR is like you can record the videos also. That is not possible in case of your normal SLRs. Okay. So this was all about your like SLR, DSLR, and all those things. Next class we can discuss about the cardinal rule.